Good afternoon. Welcome to the next episode of Purposely. I am so excited for everyone to meet the amazing Amy Bateman, who I actually have known for a very long time, way back when we both worked in the lucrative and crazy field of human resource management for Holden.
Yes, it was a very long time ago. I don't like to think about how long ago it was, Emily.
Oh my God, I know. I think it's like, is it 20 years ago?
Yeah, about 16 to be exact. Yes.
There you go. You're far better at maths than I am. And were you a co-op student?
Yes, I was a co-op student. So
Yeah.
the year before my last year of uni, I joined Holden, which is funny because when I started uni, I swore I wasn't going to take a year out. I just wanted to be finished with my studies, get a job. That was it. I was never going to learn another thing again. But yeah, I'm really glad I did that co-op year and I got to meet you, which was great.
There you go. No, you were the one of the co-op students that I actually really liked and built a relationship with, because some of them were, as you probably remember, quite annoying. It's pretty funny. It seems like such a long time ago, but yeah, I mean, all the co-op students would have been millennials, and I did find that a lot of them had a bit of a sense of entitlement and didn't want to do the work. You know, like there was one in particular. I won't mention names, but anyway, we won't go down that road. But you are doing something so different to working as a HR practitioner. Now you have started your own amazing business called Pleasant State, which we're going to hear all about. But let's hear about the story behind the story. Well, first of all, if you go to a dinner party or if you meet someone for the first time and they say, "Oh, g'day, Amy, what do you do?" How do you explain what you do?
Yeah, great. So I explained that I'm from Pleasant State. We're developing better for you cleaning products. So just think Barocca, but for cleaning. Most people would be surprised that their spray cleaning products, like your spray and wipe, consists of 97% plus water. So what we've done is we've just taken out the active ingredients and made a concentrated bar, which when added to water creates a multi-purpose, a bathroom and a glass cleaner. So we're really proud to have made it in Australia. It's non-toxic. So a lot of the chemicals used in mainstream cleaning products are extremely toxic to humans and our environment. And we're also eradicating single-use plastics. And I think no one listening here today would be surprised that we have a massive issue with plastics. So we're addressing those two pain points, hence the better for you. And at the same time, we're demonstrating, this is a real passion of mine, that being purpose-led is a really good way to do business, and that you can be profitable but have a purpose-led focus.
Wow, amazing. I absolutely love it. And I love the way that you actually started Pleasant State, because you crowdfunded it in a way. I don't even know if that's the correct term. You'd probably correct me, knowing you. But yeah, so let's hear about that. So how did you start a business like Pleasant State, like with no startup capital? Like it's such a massive undertaking to say, I'm going to create a product, get it manufactured, and I mean the products are beautiful as well. Like I love the glass bottles. Let's have a look at one.
Yeah, I can grab one here.
Yep. There they are.
Yeah, glass and silicone bottles. So moving away from plastic entirely, with the exception of the trigger. Yeah, we wanted people to be proud. You know, there is a movement to owning less and being proud of what you own, and rather than hiding cleaning chemicals under your sink, why not proudly display them? And a real movement towards people wanting to connect with brands that inspire them or that live by their values. So that's been a really core mission of ours, building a brand that people aspire to and want to be part of a particular movement. I think that's very important for millennials and definitely younger generations.
Absolutely. And all my research actually says exactly what you're talking about, that being purpose-led for millennials and young people is the number one priority, in that they don't want to buy a product if they know that industry is supporting something that they philosophically don't agree with. And I'm shocked to hear that cleaning products in those plastic bottles are 97% water. So you're essentially buying a plastic bottle with water and some other shit in it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. So when I came across the concept it was December 2019, it was popping up in the US and in Europe. So this idea of just add water cleaning solutions in a concentrated form, it's not new. It had existed in the commercial space for quite some time, but companies were starting to package it up very beautifully for consumers and selling direct to consumer. And when I saw it, it was at the time that up in Queensland, we had really extensive bushfires. Like, it had started really early, and I'm someone who's very passionate about sustainability in the environment. So that was quite upsetting to me. And at the same time, I was addressing health issues. So I've had gut issues for a very long time, thanks to my backpacking trip just after Holden. And so eradicating toxins, including plastics and chemicals, was really important to me. So I'd already started that journey. So when I heard about the concept, I just thought, wow, like, where is this? Why don't I know about it? Why am I not using it? And so as I started to dig, I quickly realized it didn't exist for Australians or New Zealanders. Tried to see if I could import it, couldn't, and just decided, well, this is a product that I want. I think it's a product that a lot of people need. This is probably my opportunity to go and live by my values and build a better business, a purpose-led business. So yeah, I just felt I had to do it. Like, why not? Yeah, and back to your earlier question though, probably the really great thing about that was I was so naive. Like, I had zero idea how to create a product. In fact, academically, I was good at school, just not in sciences. So I almost failed chemistry. And here I am deciding that I'm going to go make this thing. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know who I needed to speak to. I just knew I had to do it. And my first call was actually to a compound pharmacist. So I needed a chemist, not a pharmacist, but I knew a pharmacist, and I just told them what I wanted to do. So I started to learn things like, it's called anhydrous. It's an anhydrous solution, meaning without liquid. So liquid or water is what activates it. Now I can probably say all these things and sound like I've done a chemistry degree. But yeah, being naive, I knew I wanted it. I had to do it. It allowed me to pursue my purpose, which is a really important thing. I think for any entrepreneur, you have to have a passion and a purpose, particularly when it gets tough. And naive, but just being confident to know that any challenges that came up, like, I could probably handle it. Sometimes I don't feel that way, to be honest. It's always difficult. And I do reflect and think, oh, if I knew everything we'd have to do, would I do it? It might have been a little bit harder to get started, but yeah, I'd do it again.
Of course. So back to my question around crowdfunding it. Is that the technical term for what you did? Because I remember, we're Facebook friends and have been friends since we worked at Holden together 16 years ago. And, you popped up and you were trying to sell this idea that you were getting off the ground. And I actually was like, wow, that is so cool, that I bought it before it even existed, which, I mean, 10 years ago, if you had have told people that that's how you could start a business, they would have laughed and said, fuck off, no way. But I bought into this idea and this concept that you had created, and so did a lot of other people. And is that really how it got off the ground? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, to be perfectly transparent. So we did have some capital behind us. So the shareholders, we're all people who work in the business. That's a really core thing. So shareholders or anyone who owns equity has to be an employee or a supplier or a customer. So I had another business that I had a bit of cash and profit in, and when COVID hit, I drew down on that to invest in all the intellectual property and the branding, the trademarks. I had savings. The other shareholders put in a bit of money. So, there's definitely more money has gone into this than the crowdfunding, but we haven't taken on external investment. The crowdfunding was actually, I guess that was a bit of a strategic decision as well. So for those who have been studied how to start up a business, the lean startup principles are something that we've leveraged throughout this journey. So very much we started with the customer. And in fact, one of our shareholders, Ranil, he is a customer insights expert. So he's very senior at an ASX 100 firm. He was one of the first people I got on board to say, okay, we need to understand what are our do they have a pain point? Is our solution going to meet that pain point and resolve it? Do they like the concept? What are they going to pay? What are their lives like? So everything we do is underpinned by extremely strong customer insights. And so the crowdfunding was a little bit of a continuation of that journey to say, well, okay, are people going to pay for it as well? We 100% needed the money to fund the bottles. That is very true, because to make custom bottles is not easy. In fact, I think the second call I made was to a product designer friend of mine who I'd met in my MBA. He said, Amy, do not make your own bottle. Get it off the shelf. You will spend a lot of money and waste a lot of time, and your minimum order quantities, MOQs, will be extremely high. He was exactly right. It was all of those things. So we had to get 20,000 bottles, and which is a significant capital outlay. So we're lucky the crowdfunding, just covered that. But yeah, so what it was, we funded through Indiegogo, which is a technology platform that supports startups that need access to capital to get their idea off the ground. And as per lean startup principles, it was just basically testing, and people going to pay? Are there enough people out there that really care about this and will put their money forward? And it was a bit of a gate for us. If we didn't hit our minimum target, well, that was another go or no go decision. So if we didn't hit that money, to us, that's just evidence we haven't quite got the brand right. We haven't quite understood the customer. We haven't got the pricing right. So yes, we needed a bit of capital, definitely, to pay the bottles, but also it was to demonstrate that there was a need, and people would pay and continue to pay.
Amazing. And how much did you raise from that crowdfunding?
Yeah, so our goal was $54,000. We raised $87,000 when we turned it off. The campaign ran for 6 weeks, so we hit $67,000. And because we hit or exceeded our target, we could keep that crowdfunding open. And so we did that while we were in production, while we were setting up our e-commerce site, just kind of kept that up and didn't push it too hard, but it allowed us to continue to bring in sales. But honestly, my minimum target was actually $250,000 with an ambitious target of $400,000. So, one of the strategies behind crowdfunding is you need it to look like you're a success, because people get behind successful businesses or stories or people. So if we'd have gone in and said our target's 250, which it was for me, 250K, the gap between 0 and 250K is so high, and then you can't really build up that momentum. There were a number of things leading up to that campaign that we didn't quite get right. Like, we didn't build our database enough. None of us in our team had done crowdfunding. It's an extremely hard thing to do. It's a bit of a black box, and I would definitely encourage anyone thinking of it to, you have to take it very seriously. You have to invest a lot of time and money into it. Like, it's not a zero investment kind of marketing campaign. And definitely speak to people who have done it before, because I think we were a few days in or a week in, and sale it just plateaued. They call it the valley of death, and we hit it. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, this is not, we're heading south, and we need to do something very drastic to turn it around. And I think at that point, someone else in the team told me that only 17% of crowdfunding campaigns are successful. And it's the first time I heard that stat, and they reassured me. They told me several times, but for me, not succeeding was not an option. Like, we were going to hit it. So we had to do some very drastic things internally to get it across the line, which we did, which is great. But yes, it's not an easy thing.
No, I can imagine it would not be easy, but that's amazing. Great story, great insights there into the process, because I didn't really understand how it worked, but great validation that I guess there is a need, And so how are things going now? What's happening in the world of Pleasant State? Like, where do you get these beautiful bottles manufactured?
Yes, so with the exception of the bottles, everything is sourced and made in Australia, and that's part of our commitment to being a B Corp organisation. So with B Corp, they're organisations that are balancing purpose, profit, so people, planet, profit, basically, and that we set a goal very early on to be B Corp certified quite quickly. So our entire business is effectively built on the foundations of good governance, looking after your suppliers, your employees, environment. So when it comes to looking at suppliers, we always prioritize local, like as local as possible to headquarters. And then if you can't find that locally, you start to branch out. So you look at what can we get in our state of Queensland, and then what can we get across borders. And as a last resort, then you look offshore. So unfortunately in Australia, for anyone in manufacturing, this would be no surprise, but the manufacturing industry in Australia for a long time has been on the decline. We know all about that, Emily, having worked at GM Holden. And so that, even finding anyone to manufacture stuff here was really challenging. The bottles are impossible. As I said, MOQs are quite high, but in Australia, you need to have MOQs in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And I've checked that with a number of people, and that is the truth. So unless you're Coca-Cola or Mars or someone, you've just got zero chance. So hopefully over time we would love to bring that onshore. But again, while it's a really beautiful aspect of our product and is a differentiator, the most important thing is definitely our bars. So this is what makes the cleaning solution. These are our non-toxic but super effective products. And I think everyone's quite surprised. You yourself, I think, was super surprised. I get lots of messages saying, I supported it because you're my friend, or I thought it was great, but I didn't expect it to work. And so the feedback we're receiving is it works better than their existing products, whether that's their green products or their mainstream products. So that's because we were just so fortunate to come across an internationally recognized and extremely competent chemist. So that was, I guess, partly luck. And then a new company was formed in Gympie, Queensland, just to manufacture our bars. So we went through, again, I was led to believe that the manufacturing process that we would use wasn't particularly difficult. That's not true. We might, in fact, be the only company in the world manufacturing cleaning products in this bar form. And so, just people who supported us throughout the journey banded together and formed their own company to manufacture for us. And that was 3 months out from the promised delivery date. So that explains why we were a bit delayed as well, because it's not that easy to spin up a manufacturing facility in 3 months.
Well, so were they using this? I mean, I find this fascinating because I like manufacturing, which is, it's a bit weird, but I don't know why, but I'm into it. So was that an existing manufacturing plant that they just kind of rejigged, or did they have to custom build and design a plant, everything, to create these little magical Baroccas?
Started a bit like us, basically just have converted a shed on the property, so built a fit for purpose room. So because it is anhydrous without liquid, water is the activating factor in that bar, causes the citric acid and the bicarb to interact and have the effervescent properties. So we have to not have moisture in the air, try to not have moisture in the ingredients. So they've had to build a room that largely removes humidity, which in Queensland is not an easy task. I would not recommend making an anhydrous solution in Queensland, everyone. And then, they had to put together the entire machinery. So, step by step, they would look at, okay, well, we have to mix. So they would think about, well, what's the best way to mix ingredients? And then they purchased a machine and made modifications. And then it's called extrusion. That's the manufacturing process. So they purchased an extruder, but they manually tested things first to see, how much pressure they would need with the particular ingredients. And then over time, enhanced upon that so that they could kind of have more continuous manufacturing. And then there's the final step is our flow wrapper there we go, flow wrapping machine. So that's the machine that wraps the bar in this home compostable wrapper. So we were the first company to test this particular, it's a laminate. It has 3 layers, made from plant-based materials, and has certification as home compostable. But we were the first to apply it using, I guess, cleaning chemicals. It was developed for food products, but we're like, oh, well, we're going to give it a crack, which we did. And that in and of itself has proven a little bit challenging, but we've got there. So yeah, it's just trial and error. Yep, nothing existed. They set it up because they just believed in what we were doing, and they wanted to back Pleasant State.
Amazing. It's such a cool story. And so where to from here? I mean, people can buy it online, but do you have, so it's obviously kind of an e-commerce situation at the moment, but are you thinking about like doing wholesale stuff, or what's the plan?
Yeah, lots of things on the go at the moment. So we're in about 8,000 forward-thinking Australian homes already, which is just kind of mind-blowing when you stop and think. We literally shipped, where are we, May, 2 months ago. So we have a really big focus on serving our direct-to-consumer. Again, we're trying to build a brand that resonates with people, that they believe in, that aligns to their values, and that requires us to keep very in touch with our customers, whether that's, engaging with them on socials, continuing to have interviews, making sure that customer journey from the order to the receiving and the reorder point is really strong. So that's a really big focus. And there's many companies that have been extremely successful just to direct to consumer. Having said that, though, you're getting really strong brand awareness is also equally important, so people know about us, because we have developed an exceptional product that is much better for people and planet. And so we are pursuing some wholesale opportunities, predominantly brick and mortar stores. So what we don't want is to be selling through other online retailers, because they're basically a competitor. So you cannibalize yourself. So there's a whole lot of bulk whole food stores that one quite big one, which we're just about to get across the line, which is exciting.
Hey.
Yeah, so they will stock only in store, so that customers, when they're going in to buy their bulk foods, can get our products. But in terms of the real ambitious goal, so for me personally, it's really to demonstrate that you can be profitable and be good. Like they are definitely related. I don't understand where business lost its way in terms of only focusing on shareholder value. You need to focus on your employees. You need to care about the planet and factor that into all decisions. You need to give a shit about your suppliers. Like, otherwise, what's the point? Like, there has to be a purpose. You have to be delivering value. That's a really big goal of mine. And I think to do that, we need to go big. We do donate 2% of all sales. So not profit, sales, which means that's every $10 you give us. That's, I should have kept that more simple. Every $1, Emily, my maths isn't that great. That's an immediate 2 cents. So we don't wait. Like, we wouldn't be donating for years if we waited for to be profitable. So every time we're getting money, that's directly being donated to Take 3 for the Sea, which is cleaning up our oceans. Again, we want to go big so we can have bigger impact and build a foundation so that we can support other inventors, R&D, startups that are addressing very complex and important social and environmental matters. And to do that, we've got a number of other products in the pipeline, so that's super exciting. There are more sort of just add water cleaning solutions that are toxic free and plastic free. So that's one avenue. We might do another crowdfunding campaign to help get that off the ground, and looking also at global expansion. So we've already trademarked Pleasant State in 9 other jurisdictions. So the intention was always that we would go global, and be, just a real iconic part of forward thinking people's homes, having our beautiful bottles, whether they're spray bottles or other forms of bottles, sitting on people's benches. So, when people walk in their home and they're like, what's that? They can talk about our product and be proud of the fact that they're buying better products that make them feel good. Yeah, but in the next couple of months, we're moving into a warehouse. We're moving out of my garage, so that's a massive step. It seems, yeah, it doesn't seem like a big step, but it really is. Like each day or each week, there's just something new where you're like, oh my God, this is really serious. Yeah, we ordered another 30,000 bottles the other day, so like that sort of happened way more quickly. So yeah, expecting quite significant growth, and that means that we can employ more Australian workers and support our suppliers to grow too, which is super exciting.
It's so cool. I love it. And you are right. I do leave your bottles of cleaning products on my bench because they're not as ugly and horrible as like Windex or, I don't know what's Mr. Sheen or some other of the other brands that have been around for years and years. And people do say, "Oh, what's that? What's that? What's that bottle?" And I tell them, and it is like a kind of, it's a talking point, but it's kind of a proud thing. Like, these bottles, they're really cool, and you don't really think about how often you would be buying those cleaning products every year and how much plastic and waste there is. And now I just need to reorder these little Barocca tablet things. And I chuck them in the water. I did make a mistake though when I did first use them because I'm so bad at reading instructions. So I loved the box that it came in, and there was like this little handout thing, but I was just so excited I didn't read it. And I just filled up the bottles with normal water, not warm water.
And it took a while.
It did take a while.
Yeah, they'll still dissolve. It just takes a little while. Yeah.
Yeah, it just took ages. But I had a bit of a giggle to myself. I was like, that's so typical of me.
One of the big ones is we're like quite clear about not putting the spray trigger on the bottle until it fully dissolves.
Because I can't read that either.
I did quite a bit of testing around that. So when we were doing our pilot testing, we used some plastic bottles. And so it wasn't really a big deal because it's plastic. It just kind of expands as the gases are being released during that, while the bar's dissolving. But Wayne, our chemist, who would constantly be messaging me, he's like, Amy, people have to stop putting the triggers on. Like, once we move to glass bottles, what if they explode? I'm like, oh my God, could you imagine? Like if we make these bottles and they just start exploding in people's houses. So I just started doing some very technical testing. So basically I'd use it as warm a water as possible, drop in a bar. I'd put the trigger on and then I would just wrap it in a towel. And I just did this over and over to see, could I make a bottle explode? That would be cool. I never made a bottle explode. So I'm pretty comfortable that if people are not following instructions, because I totally get it. It's really exciting. I don't like reading instructions either. Yeah. The bottles, there has been no reports of bottles exploding. So we're winning.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think of that. I just chucked it in there and I actually shook it. Like, this is so exciting. So there you go. There's some real-time customer experience feedback about my personal experience, but I love it. But I mean, I guess the question is, Amy, how did you go from working in the field of HR to now being an entrepreneur and starting your own business? Like, one of the questions I get asked all the time is, how do you leave your job, your cushy job, your safety net, or like your safe environment or career path, and just take this path of most resistance?
Yeah, it's a question I ask myself all the time. Because I'm like, why do I do this? But for me, there's really no other choice. Like even from a young age, I never stuck at anything. Like I did all the sports, even with all my studies, I was good at everything, but never like it was all pretty good. My dad had very high standards. So if I got 98% on a test, he'd be like, where's the other 2%? Thanks, Dad. But yeah, so I always had to excel, but just good enough. And then once I'd mastered something, I'd be bored again. So this is kind of a theme. So HR, I did the stint at Holden. I thought I was going to go into HR, actually. I liked psychology. I did commerce and sort of majored in psych through commerce and thought I'd go into organizational development. Holden was like a rude shock for me. I'm like, this place, this is not like what it is in a textbook. What have I done? I used to have dreams about how I was going to be made redundant at Holden because of all the redundancies. So that was stressful.
Oh God, it was my dream to be made redundant from there. I remember I kept asking, can you please make me redundant? They had the most generous redundancy provisions. Like I'd been there for 5 years and I would be like pleading, going, can you please make me redundant? And they're like, no.
Yeah, because you were too good, Emily. Too good. You
No,
had to be bad at your job.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. It's just funny how, yeah. Anyway, so you were like, what the hell? I mean, yeah, Holden is like a juggernaut. It's like a global matrix organization. I remember they used to call it a matrix organization. I was thinking, what the fuck does that mean? It's such a wank. But anyway, yeah, like what was the biggest shock about working in that environment for you?
Oh, I didn't quite realize it at the time, but it was definitely politics. I didn't have a name for it then, and I was quite junior, but it was obvious there were signs of it. And when I reflect back now, I see that. And yeah, one of the worst stories I have is I came in when they were doing the candid and constructive feedback course. And I'm really sorry. I'm very sorry to my manager if she ever watches this. But so I was coordinating that and I went along to the course, and my boss's director, I was put in a group with her and another senior woman from the engineering department. And the activity we were meant to do was talk about how, you know, in teams, you give candid and constructive feedback. And so I'm like, I've always been a really confident person. My dad basically raised me as a boy. So I was just so confident. I thought I could do anything. I have this conversation. I even share based on like youth group stuff that I'd been doing. And even at school, I was a leader. So I shared some of the stuff I did. Anyway, the next day, my manager comes to me and she's like, we have to have a chat. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm fucked. Like I've done something wrong, which I hate. I hate doing things wrong. So annoying, such a female thing. And she said that basically it was inappropriate of me to talk up in a candid and constructive feedback session. It was just very rude and out of place for me to do that. I don't think she believed that. My manager, I don't think she thought that, but her manager did. And so she had this duty to share that with me. I was so angry, Emily. I only cry when I'm angry. So I just remember I started tearing up and she's like, do you want me to leave you? And I said, yes. But I was just so angry. And that was so damaging, actually, because it probably took me 10 years to get over that. I would never, after that, I never spoke up in a meeting if I was not the most senior, which that was, you know, I wasn't senior for a long time. And it wasn't until I was at EY and one of the partners took me aside and just said, Amy, you have a lot to say. He's like, why you're not saying it? And I need you to say more. I was like, oh my God. So I had to overcome that a lot and just push myself and say things even when I was afraid. And like I still, some of that discomfort comes up. But yes, and that, you know, that's not necessarily politics, that particular example, but that's, you know, the hierarchy and power and thinking that people below you, yes, that they shouldn't have a say and that you can't speak up. These are things I think largely drive some of my anti-corporate sentiments, because I'm someone, you know, by virtue of my upbringing, that thinks everyone should have a voice and you should be able to speak out. And if something's not right, you most definitely should speak out. And so when you have systems in place like that prevent disempowered or vulnerable people from speaking out, well, that leads to very perverse outcomes in organizations. And I think you see it repeatedly, like, you know, the Rio Tinto example where they blew up that heritage site. I think a lot about, you know, if an individual was asked, okay, do you want to blow up this site? No single person, unless they're a psychopath, would say yes. But what is it about a collective of people that leads them to make a decision like that? So anyway, you know, I had initial insights into that in Holden, but actually on reflection, Holden was quite a good organization. But that gave me insight into HR. But then I felt like I'd done that, Emily. I'm like, oh, sweet, I'm an HR expert. Then I moved on to marketing. I'm like, sweet, I'm a marketing expert. That's not true. I'm definitely not a marketing expert. If you're watching this, I basically have a team of marketers around me because it's definitely not my area. And then I moved to sustainability, and I did sustainability. I'm like, done that. Then work health and safety, tech. And I just think, Amy, God, just friggin' focus. Like, imagine if you focused where you could be. Like, you'd be a partner at EY, or you'd I always thought I might be the CEO of Commonwealth Bank. No idea why. Like, you could be the CEO of Commonwealth Bank. Yeah. And because I don't really give a shit about money either. So I'd look at that and be like, oh, I'd be so rich. Like, why do I keep taking jobs where I give up all my money, or like I risk it all? Because that's basically what I'm doing the game. The truth is, because I get bored. Yeah.
No, I do not sound like it's because you have integrity and you want to follow your passion and your purpose. And that's why millennials are fucking awesome. And that's why they're doing things that other generations didn't do, is because they have the kahunas to do that and to follow their passions and not listen to the managers who say you need to be quiet and shut up and wait your turn and all that kind of stuff, because I think we've all experienced that. But I would also say that because you've had all those varied experiences, you're bringing all of that to the table. Like, these people who've stayed in the same profession, the same career their entire lives, they just become stagnant and they become very unhappy, and they're not growing, and they're not being the best version of themselves. They're playing it safe. So I think that you having all of those experiences doesn't mean that you can't focus. I think it means that you're really good at learning new things, and then you would bring all of that to what you're doing now. So
and they're all excellent insights, which thankfully I've arrived at. Yeah, there was late one night working on Pleasant State. Yeah, I remember this moment so vividly. I was doing something like, oh, I know how to do that, and I know how to do this. Like, I know how to govern a business. I know how to manage risk. I understand finance. Thank you to my MBA as well. Yeah, and I had this moment where it all makes sense now. I did all of these things to bring me to this point. And had I not done that, there is no way that I would be equipped to do what I'm trying to do. And that doesn't mean I can't do a lot of the things myself, but I know what has to be done. And that's because of all those experiences. And you raised another point, about not sitting back, having integrity. That is definitely one. Like, if I didn't agree with how things were being done, which is often, I couldn't be quiet. I couldn't be quiet. And I'm one of those people, because I don't care about money, I would just quit. I'd be like, all right, well, we haven't solved this. I've been trying. I don't have a job, but I'm leaving. That was very common. But Emily, now that I manage people, I also have an appreciation of that those people can be somewhat challenging to manage as well, because they do have there are some people I work with or have worked with recently, and I look at them like, oh my God, you remind me of me. And oh my God, this is so hard. And I often call mentors of mine, one partner in particular at EY who's a legend. I was so lucky at EY to work with partners who put up with me and just let me do what I wanted. And if I said I was going to quit, they would do things to help me. But I call him and I'll say, okay, how do I deal with myself? Like, what advice, when I did this, what did you do? And they find it very interesting. So yes, I'm getting some of my medicine back, but it's good. Like, I want people who challenge me. And in fact, that's some of the challenges that I have, like the team, we have a lot of women. And for me, I think that confidence gap between men and women is a really big one. And I think it's a large driver behind, and, women not putting their hands up for things, or in some instances pay equity. And yes, I think organizations have a responsibility to address this, but so do individuals. And, if you don't have the confidence to do that, fight your battles or negotiate, then it's really difficult. And organizations, unfortunately, they don't, it's in their best interest to not pay you what you're worth. So for me, I spend a lot of time trying to build my team up, particularly women, and because I'm a fairly strong person and quite confident, that can be a bit intimidating at times. So I have to develop them to be strong enough and confident enough to come up against me, and just make it a safe space to say, well, no, I definitely want you to challenge me. You're here for a reason. I can't do this alone, as much as I'd like to sometimes. But yeah, like I just can't. And I don't know all the answers. I have a view on something, but if you don't agree, you've got to have a voice. But making people strong and powerful enough to do that, particularly when they've been brought up, I think as women, to feel that they don't really have a place to do that. That's actually one of my biggest challenges.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, Amy, it's been amazing listening to your story. If people want to buy Pleasant State or find out more about it, what's the best place? Is it Instagram, your website? Where do you want people to go?
All of those places. So our website is where you can purchase Pleasant State. And definitely if you want to move away from toxic cleaning chemicals and want to eradicate plastics, but you also want to clean really well, then jump online at www.pleasantstate.com. But we're also all over socials. In fact, we even have a TikTok now. So our handles, I'm not the social media pro, so hopefully I'm doing this justice, Sean, but at Pleasant State is our Facebook and Instagram handle, and we have a TikTok. In fact, a video Sean did the other day went viral. It's a cleaning hack on how to use a mop with the multi-purpose spray. So I think within 3 days she had 170,000 views. Like, that's outrageous. Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. I love it. I love things that go viral. Well, everyone wants life hacks on cleaning because cleaning sucks. And I will say that I used your glass cleaner and I thought, oh, this is going to be shit because, it's non-toxic. Like, honestly, like, how can this be good? And it's actually really good. I have this really annoying backsplash that's like stainless steel and glass and everything streaks, but yours with the cloth, because that's the other thing. When you buy your products, you don't just get the beautiful bottle with the little Baroccas. You get special cleaning cloths, which I didn't realise. So that was a nice surprise. And they're all colour-coded. And everything's beautiful as well. So,
you'd be surprised to know, Emily, like, there's lots of people out there that love cleaning. I'm not one of them. So I think that's quite entertaining that I've developed a cleaning product. I try to deny that. I'm like, no, it's a brand. We're building a brand. And we have a bigger mission, but lots of people love cleaning, hence why all these cleaning hack stuff on TikTok are very popular. But also people who don't necessarily like cleaning, what we're hearing is that our products make them enjoy cleaning, and they're just so surprised because they smell really nice, but they smell effective and they do a really good job, and it makes it much easier. And they feel good doing it because there's a bigger purpose behind Pleasant State. So yeah, believe it or not, Emily, they do exist out there. Lovers of cleaning. I wish they would move in with me.
Well, I love those people because, we need all kinds in the world, and people who love cleaning out there, you need to get on board with Pleasant State. Check them out. Thank you so much, Amy, for your time. It's been a pleasure. I could talk to you all day, but we better leave it there. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Emily.
Thanks to Amy for giving us her time and her wisdom.